Thanks for joining us on today's edition of Flipside. I'm Daisy Liu Asikidi, and I'm your host on today's edition of the show. I'm going to be having a guest joining me online real soon for our discussion today. I saw a post on social media. Yeah, I don't know which of the social media platforms, but it really struck me. It says when someone says something to you intentionally or unintentionally to hurt you, the person is rude. When someone does something to you intentionally to hurt you, the person is mean. And when someone does or says something to hurt you intentionally or unintentionally, but repeatedly, the person is a bully. Have you ever been bullied? Well, we're not talking about bullying per se on Flipside today, but we're talking about ending and understanding social maltreatment. When we coin the word bullying, people tend to think about students being in the university or in secondary school where maybe your seniors are oppressing you in quote. But it goes beyond that. At some point, every one of us seem to have experienced a kind of bully, a maltreatment, maybe because of our gender, our skin tone, our account balance, or lack of money, or even having too much money. You know, you could even be treated differently because your parents are rich. That's also a problem with social maltreatment, or maybe because of your race or your religion. Several reasons, different things make people treat you differently socially and in a negative way. So today we will be understanding social maltreatment and paving ways where the society can come together to help deal with this and put a stop to it. It might not stop 100%, but we'll do our best to enlighten the populace, to let them know that we're having so much mental issues today, we're having so many unstable people today. These things come from a lot of childhood traumas, comes from words we hear, comes from actions that we are constantly exposed to. And as such, we have to let people understand that their actions do mean a whole lot, and we will help them as much as we can. And sure, I have an activist with me that will be joining me real soon. But before that, we'll go on a break. When we come back, we'll be talking about understanding social maltreatment on Flipside today. We're going to be understanding social maltreatment, and my guest is here with me online, and her name is Annie Umaru. She's actually from the Initiative for Gender Equality and Advancement. She's a rights activist, and she's always at the fore, especially for youths and women. But today she's just going to be talking about people in general. Annie, you're welcome.
Good afternoon. Thank you.
All right. So, understanding social maltreatment. First things first, what exactly is social maltreatment and how does it manifest in our society today?
Okay. So, good afternoon, everyone. Social maltreatment can be said to be a form of abuse or a certain kind of behavior that tries to cut one off from society, from the community, from friends, or even family members. It can also be a violent kind of treatment of a person. You can call it cruel, you can call it ill treatment, but I also like to call it social abuse. We have different kind of abuse, so I like to call it the social kind of abuse. And sincerely, it's been manifesting in our society in different ways. I'd like to see it in two different ways. With my explanation on what it is, I'd like to see it in two different ways. One, it can be likened to gender abuse or domestic abuse, and then it can also be likened to your normal social abuse, like I called it earlier. And to the second question, yes, it's been manifesting in our society in two different forms.
All right. Are you still me?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, but how prevalent is social maltreatment and what are its consequences?
All right. So, like I said earlier, it's very common now. Looking at it, looking at the explanation, when we talk about social maltreatment, social abuse, a lot of people think it's very far. Like in our everyday lives, we tend to see it. So, yes, it's very prevalent in our social media space, in our environment lately. It's very, very prevalent. And the consequence is that we're building a society. The negative consequence is that we're building a society where people now think it's normal to do some things which normally ought not to be normal. And so that's one of the major consequences of this social maltreatment or abuse, like I like to call it. Another consequence is the fact that we are not living or having a generation where, like I said, people think it's okay to do certain things, and then those who are on the receiving side tend to so that people start suffering from one or some form of depression.
Hello, Annie.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. For those who do not really understand, are there maybe common forms of this social maltreatment we're talking about that you could maybe state so they
Yeah.
understand properly?
So, one some of the I like to say it's the sign. And so, one of the signs of social abuse, and you see why I tagged it to, it can be likely to domestic abuse from a spouse, from a relationship, or something like that. One is when whoever your abuser is, or whoever the person is that's maltreating you, does not allow you outside of your, whatever the issue is, does not allow you out of your home, out of your room, out of your workspace. So it can be a stalker, a physical stalker, it can be a spouse, it can be somebody you're in a relationship with, it can be a friend. Then another thing is when the person does not allow you participate in social issues, community-wise activities in your community, or or on social media. That's a sign to know that you are being abused socially. Then, when you have a spouse or a friend or in a relationship, friendship, like I like to call it, your partner or your friend, always wanting to know where are you going to, what are you doing, how are you doing it, wanting to close match at all times, not wanting you to relate with friends, not wanting you to talk to someone. "Hey, who did you just talk to?" That's a sign of someone being socially or societally abused. We also have things that are very common: stalking, someone stalking you either physically, someone stalking you on social media, everywhere you are. We have bullying on social media, on physically in your community, wherever it is. Then another one, discrimination, either in your social space or in your community or in your family. These are some of the signs of the site. These are some of the ways that someone can be abused or maltreated socially. I think I answered that one.
Yes, beautiful, beautiful. Do you think our culture, social norms, cultural norms have a way of contributing to these maltreatments?
Oh yes. It was worse. It was worse before. And then when campaigns and advocacy with the equality and all of that, we're not really talking about gender, but whether you like it or not, when we talk about human treatment, most times you will see that most people on the receiving end are either young ladies, mature ladies, or most times it's more for the female folk. So society has had a way of contributing to all of these societal abnormalities. Discrimination, like I had said, in some families or in some communities, women should not even be seen in some place. women should not come out and do this, women should not do that. This already of discrimination. When men are talking, women should not talk. Even when you have something important, yes, we know that we are traditional people, but most of these traditional norms, traditional culture, have had a way of fueling some of these societal issues.
Okay, as individuals, what strategies would you employ us to have to at least deal with these social maltreatments, to address it as individuals?
Okay, so that's where some of us come. That's where we also have laws. But the ones that to do with social spaces, like the ones I mentioned, that has to do with cyber stalking, the discrimination online, social media. You see someone makes a post, and somebody comes in and says something that's not on that our laws already. So some of the things that some of us are pushing for is not just for us to have our laws, but for implementation, enforcement of those laws. And I see it happen very recently. You say something nasty about someone else, and the person takes you to court. So as an individual, if you're being cyberstalked, if you're being bullied online, if you're being harassed online, there are laws that are backing you. Go to the police station, get a lawyer, and enforce that particular person who's doing all of this to you. And then for the society, that's where civil society comes in, and that's where enlightenment in society comes in. We've been doing quite a whole lot of conversations on all of this to reduce some of these cultural issues that fear social abuse. We've been talking to community leaders, especially in Edo State, society activists, community leaders. We've been doing quite a lot of sensitization. We've been talking to people to build themselves, have confidence in yourself. You know, the messages are out there. There was a time we started this Sorosoke. We're still doing it. We're just saying, in whatever the issue is that you're going through, speak out. Has facilities. The Ministry of Justice has some departments where if you can't go to the NGO space, you can walk there and say, oh, there's social issue that's bothering me, or there's this person that is doing this for me, and they will respond to you. There are different avenues to which, as a person, you can be able to react and respond to issue that you're
Okay, does getting educated have any role to play in ending social maltreatment? Can education help?
So, yes, but not kind of education that everybody will think. You know, a difference between going to school and a difference between building yourself. Knowledge, they say, yes, I've talked a lot of people that are educated, but are still going through this form of abuse. We have those are the kind of people we call the educated illiterates. So, but this message has nothing to do with education. Just get the right message. You know, message that for those who are listening in are already getting this form of education, that there is something called societal abuse. There's something called societal maltreatment. And how do we go about it? Oh, these are the signs to look out for, and this is what to do. So, yes, you can be enlightened by going to school, but still don't have knowledge of this. And like I said before, that's where civil society comes in. That's where you also came in to come out to say, talk about this. The people can get enlightened, or they can get educated on this issue.
Beautiful. All right. As an activist, I know you're always on the field, but you've mentioned some programs that your NGO is focused on to helping people get informed. Well, are there other initiatives or successful programs, maybe an NGO that is strictly for handling cases of bullying, discrimination, that is not gender-based alone, or focusing on sex abuse, sexual abuse? Because most of these NGOs that I've seen are either dealing with marital issues or sexual abuse, physical abuse is always related to some romantic relationship. But are you aware of any NGOs that handle cases of discrimination, bullying that are not linked to the family?
Okay, yes. So, um, the thing is, yes, there are quite a lot. And just like you said, most of us that you're seeing, we do mostly women issues, young girls, and all of that. But the basic truth is, we do all of these issues, say violence against persons that we can handle. It's not just women, we do against men also. So there's a lot of NGOs that do handle discrimination, do handle harassment, whatever form of harassment, we do handle all of that. And then the person can also walk to the SAC Center, Assault Referral. The person can also work to the Ministry of Justice has a department. It's called conflict resolution, I think. And in that case, and funny enough, in that conflict resolution department, we have some of our PSOs there, human rights activists who are also there, who oversee some of these issues, and quite a lot has been done.
Okay. All right, because I know the case where there's a woman currently complaining about being harassed in her office, and this harassment is not sexual. The person harassing her is her boss and a female as well. She doesn't feel comfortable, and she doesn't want to lose the job. She doesn't want to resign, and she's thinking of who will help me speak and how will I get redress. All right, let's talk a little bit about communities and organizations at this time. Yes, I can hear you.
Something you just talked about now.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Annie.
Okay, so you made a lady who is having that issue and doesn't want to lose her job.
Yes.
Now, yes, most offices, so most organizations are beginning to have their HR department, their human resource department. And basically, one of the things the HR does, because some of us have had these trainings too, some of the things that HR look out for is this harassment, sexual abuse, either from female, bullying also, And so, an advice to that lady, and there should be a reporting mechanism in the office, just to write it and say, please, the HRO knows how to relate the issue. An HRO, it's not just title. There are trainings that they've been taking through. Some of us too have had those trainings. So if I were in a department and she reports the issue to me that, oh, but I don't want to lose my job, the HRO knows how to relate it to the boss, because that's one of the major reasons why there's usually HRO in an office.
Nice. All right. But the community that we're living, we know we talked a little bit about culture, and most of our
Yeah.
cultural norms have a way of suppressing women, especially, and children, and they just have a way of relegating you to the back even when you have something to offer. So what ways would you suggest that communities begin to help respond? How should they respond to cases of maltreatment? You could even report a case of sexual harassment today, and you would even be judged, you that you're the victim. Let's even use sexual harassment as an example. You'll be hearing comments like, why were you there? Why did you wear this? What were you looking for at that time? Why did you eat for free, And all of that. But
Yeah.
how would you suggest that the community responds to cases of maltreatment of any kind, bullying in schools, bullying outside schools, discrimination in place of worship, whatever? How should we respond?
So, because of our culture, so many communities still are behind. Permit me to use that word. But there are quite a lot of communities that are more enlightened now. They might not take some of these things too seriously just yet, but I know there's a level with the conversations we've been having with some community leaders, with the conversation as CSOs as a team. And when I mention CSOs, I mention us as a team now. I've been having with various traditional rulers. Very recently, there was a training, and after the training, some of the traditional leaders that were there actually pledged to say, if you are having difficulty in any community, these are palace chiefs, and say if you're having an issue with any community as regards harassment, bullying, sexual abuse, and all of that, you can reach out to us to reach out to community leaders.
Okay.
That's a way that we've been having. And so for some communities, we've already started sensitization. My community now, for example, yes, women don't talk, but sometimes there are some things they still come to say, oh, Comrade Andy, we know you are an expert in so thing. Can you give us an idea of what to do or how to go about it? So for me, that's work in progress. And there was a time in my community, which I'm using as an example now, a lot of things will go and go like when somebody's being harassed, somebody's being abused. But I can tell you for free now that it's no longer like that. Even though or the guys in the community don't hand over the person to the police, they have this mechanism that if according to them, if you misbehave, they I don't want to use the local language that they always use, or they treat that thing that you have done. So I can walk to my community youth now. So person is talking, so person is sitting on the fence and I don't like it. And you see them walk to the person and say, that thing that you are doing, stop it, our eyes are on you. They might make fun of it, but they've been able to address it. So communities need to open up. We're going to the trend, even though we are trying hard not to leave some of our cultures, but I think that there are some cultures that we need to live as a people for us to progress.
All right.
And it's a work in progress. We not have gotten where we need, but I think that we're a work in progress.
Okay. And we're talking about understanding social maltreatment. And so far, so good, my guest has also let us understand that it is a form of social abuse. And I have Annie Murray. She is a rights advocate, rights activist with me, and she's been talking to us on this. So Annie, it's good to have you back.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
All right, so how can we create a culture of empathy and respect for humans in general? I was watching the lunchtime program that we just had before my show came up, and we saw one of the Nigerian celebrities, a musician, beating up one of his workers because the guy's been extorting money from him, getting deals and not delivering the pay. He had cause to be angry, but he got people to lynch him, and right now he's been hospitalized. They're dragging him on social media, but um, these things happen every now and again. Seem like we don't feel people's pain. So how can we develop a culture of empathy and a culture of respect?
So we need to, one, uh, start ourselves. We need to think back how it was then when there was some form of love. With social media came a whole lot of ills or disadvantages. Now you see somebody who record evil acts just because they want to grow followers on TikTok, on social media, on Facebook, or what have you. I watched a few days ago of someone who, I don't know if it was a nanny, I don't know what it was, but the person did cover a baby, a few months old baby, with, I don't know if you saw that video, with black nylon, and the baby was crying and suffocating, and the person was recording it.
What?
Yeah. I couldn't watch that video for more than 10 seconds. I noticed, and I did that because I think it was about the 30 seconds video, a minute. I did that because I needed to understand the angle with which, and so I saw the camera moving. So obviously, the person recording the other person was doing it, or was the same person. Now, after I watched that video, my head was, what is the child? I felt, I couldn't explain how I felt. And I know that one of the persons that sent me that video, I told the person, please don't send me anything like this ever again. The person sent it just to tell me, oh, if you have a maid, if you have this, be careful, watch your kids and all of that. But because I have empathy, I have sympathy, I'm a human being, I have love for a child I do not know of. As we do a lot of issues for people that we don't know about, and we carry it, like they say, we carry the matter on our heads. People need to start talking to people about the need to love. We are in the quest for fame. So many things are being done. Somebody has an accident or gets involved in an accident, and instead of helping out, we are all recording it to be the first to put on our social media. And I am every time I do things like that, I am pained. And the only thing I can say is we need to start talking, go back to the drawing board and start talking about the need to love one another. Because if I love my neighbor, I won't even how will I put it now? I won't even disrespect my neighbor. If I have some form of love for my neighbor, I won't discriminate against that person. If I have some form of love for my neighbor, I won't want to spoil the person's relationship with another person. So we need to, I don't know how we need to do this, but even though some of us are preaching love, I think everybody needs to come back and preach love. Pastors need to preach love. Our imams need to preach love. Everyone, because we really do. If we come back to this love and preach it the way it should be, not just to preach it, but love, having love. There's one thing to preach love, and there's another thing to be the doer of what you're saying. So we should preach it and we should do it. And this kindness in the small space. I am kind in a small space. You're kind in your small space. We're all kind in our small spaces. At the end of the day, we will see that we will be able to spread this kindness in our countries, and it has gone far and wide. So the only solution is for us to come back and talk about it. Mothers with little children, preach love to your kids. Mothers with single children, fathers, brothers, friends, everybody, don't just preach. This time, we need a whole lot of love. If we start showing love, we start preaching love, so many societal ills will be reduced drastically.
That's very beautiful. Some people can be very mean, and maybe they don't know that they are mean. They just say things without giving thoughts to them. Even in offices, you're constantly trying to pull someone down. You're talking behind their backs, things that you're even sure aren't true,
Yeah.
just to make them feel bad. We really do lack a lot of love these days. I don't know if it's a new thing, but it's really, really sad when you have conversations with people. So let's talk about communities. There are some communities that every now and again you see them on the news, they come to say they are marginalized and they don't feel included enough. Even when you do politics, there are some tribes that feel oppressed. They're not given top positions like they deserve. And then that's why we have these, in a bit to balance it, you start hearing zoning, which I think has we've already eroded that in Nigeria. But what can we do to support marginalized communities? Might not be about politics right now, but in general.
Basically, if I am being looked down on in my family, if I am being relegated to the background with nobody showing concern, I would react. And this other time I have reacted in small ways and nobody listening to me, I would react in small ways. For example, the militancy issue, Niger Delta. Started hearing their voices when they started carrying guns, and that was all when the kidnapping and all of that started.
Yeah.
So my advice to not just our leaders, to those at M of affairs. By M of affairs, people will think it's just politicians I'm talking about. No, community leaders, to the head of the home, to the head of families, because that's where it starts. It doesn't have to be, everything doesn't have to be our president, everything doesn't have to be our governor, everything doesn't have to be government. But in our small spaces, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, and you're the head of that small space, I think to carry everybody along. Not everybody has to be in that leadership position, but carrying everybody along matters. And lately, we tend to overlook things. In not matter. And these little things that we think do not matter matters a whole lot. Because sometimes when you see some very little issues, or when you see some issues that are snowballed into communal fights or family issues, when you now look back and see where it started or how it started, you realize that it was something that could have been curbed when it started, and people said, no matter, no mind, Jare, not being the talk and all of that, and then it snowballs into something else. So, as a leader of your space, as leader of your, because if I use leader, everybody will think it's politicians. We are very good at pointing fingers at politicians.
Yeah.
But as the leader, as the star of your space, it happens too between friends. As the star of your space, we all have that friend who likes to measure up to us. We all like that friend who sometimes the friend might be better than you, but this small jealousy is just there. Try to carry everybody along. Try to do, I need to do this, or we need to do this. What do you think? I have told leaders that have come across my way, or most times when we've had issues or wanted to talk with politicians, it's not about what you think, it's about the people. There is no harm in saying, let's call for a meeting in our community. My community did that very recently. Let's call for a meeting. Our roads are bad. What do we do? We have roads to fix. We have this to use money to do. Okay, what do you people think we can do? And people say, okay, the road is usually waterlogged. Let's dig, what's it called? I think these boreholes, about 6 of them, to drain the water. And I smiled. In less than 3 weeks, this thing materialized. Why? Because they had thrown it out to everybody. And everybody who said, it's a laudable idea, supported it. You see, so that's an example. People will be marginalized when you don't carry them along, or when you don't give their opinion. Opinion might not be that important, or may not be that interesting, but you can say, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, let's put this at number 6 or number 5, and then we come back to it at some other time, but let's do something else. Trust me, person will come to the act, for once, they even heard my voice, I spoke. So I think that these things are things we can, it's not too late. Leaders, stars of their groups, of their cliques and all of that, we can all imbibe this culture of carrying everybody along and not assuming that we are thinking on behalf of everybody.
All right. Thank you so much, Annie. You've really done justice to this topic. We are about to end this conversation. So your final words on today's topic, so we could let you go.
It's important as a people that we learn to love. It's not too late. People die every day. And some of us weep, and in our heart, we're like, this person, if I knew, I would have spoken to the person before the person died. I think it's important that you show a little love to your neighbor, a little love to your friend, a little love to that person who walks by you every day. And this will go in to make the society a better place. And for those of you who do not know the signs of social maltreatment and social abuse, we have listed them to you. Please look out for it. Don't just speak about it. For those of you who are already going through it, please speak out about it. Talk to a professional, walk into any NGO office, and then speak to them on ways to go about it. It's not enough or not good enough to die in silence. You have life, have your right as a human being, and live it to the fullest. Thank you so much, and thank you Daisy, for having me. It's a beautiful day, and so sorry I couldn't come to the studio, but I think we're able to do something. Thank you so much.
All right, it's my pleasure. Having you has been a delight, and I'm glad that even though you couldn't come here physically, you could still join us online. And that's how we're going to be ending today's conversation and then social maltreatment. Please have enough love in you and also impact that same love in your children. They are going to become the men tomorrow and the women tomorrow and the parents tomorrow, and it is what you've taught them that they will also teach to their children. Those who engage in gossiping and spreading lies, rumors, frivolous tales about their neighbors, their colleagues, their family members, please desist. It starts from those little things and then it becomes malicious actions, harassment, and it just goes on. And then you're hurting someone mentally, you're hurting someone physically, and you're pretending as if you don't know. We all need to join our hands together to put a stop to social maltreatment of any kind, be it discrimination, harassment, bullying, segregation, any form of social maltreatment. Let's stop it today. I'm Daisy Leo Asikidi. Thanks a whole lot for staying with me from start to finish. Have a great day.